This is WFO Radio.
WFO, everybody. What's going on? Joe Castello back with you. WFO Radio is on the air, and we are just about days away from the start of the NHRA season reboot in Indianapolis, Indiana. Everybody is very excited, and on this show here today, we're going to be live with a man making his return, the redemption tour, Cory Mack. Going to be on the show, going to be driving a Don Schumacher Racing Top Fuel dragster, a canopy car, no less. We're going to be speaking with Cory McClenathan. I know he's got legions of fans. Cory Mack, one of those guys that have been in the sport, was kind of like a new generation star when you've been watching, Garlitz and Amato and Gwynn and those guys, Shirley. Then Cory Mack in the 90s came on the scene and really just put it on him. Several seasons, had that great paint scheme. In fact, if you watch our happy hour show just a couple of days ago, the Kenny Youngblood show, that was one of the cars that we talked about, one of the new age paint schemes that was duplicated over and over again, the Mack Attack car. We're going to speak with Cory about that, his return, what he's been up to these days on this show. So if you're a fan of Cory Mack right now, share the show, start a watch party. You're going to want to see it. No doubt. Also, he is a friend of the show. He's an FIA Top Fuel World Champion, and we love on the walking tour that we do at the Mellow Yellow Pit area to tell his story. He and his wife, Nhra, moved all the way to the United States, changed their citizenship because of NHRA drag racing, and they want to be involved, and they will be running, attempting to qualify in Indy, both races. Lex Joon, Lex and Nhra are going to be on the show just minutes from now. So all of our Euro drag racing fans and everybody around the world, the international squad, share the show, start a watch party. We have got great guests coming up on WFO Radio. Now, the show is brought to you by some great sponsors, people that we love. For instance, Total Seal Piston Rings, the leader in ring seal technology, just finished a new episode of Hidden Horsepower by Total Seal, their podcast, their flagship podcast. Great information. We did myths and misconceptions. It'll be dropping real soon. But the whole point is to talk about where you can find horsepower in your engine, whether boosted or naturally aspirated. Go to TotalSeal.com, find out all the information. Give them a call. That's what Keith Jones is always saying. Just tell them to call me. I was like, yeah, but we got people that tell them to call me. I will sort it out. Go to TotalSeal.com to find out more information. Also, Marvin Rodak, Rodak'sCoffeeandGrills.com, hot sauces and spice rubs, everything good. I was talking, I was doing grilling. No, it wasn't grilling. I had ribs that I defrosted, and I really didn't want to break out the barbecue. I wanted to do them in the oven because I never do that. Marvin coached me through, man. He's won awards in Texas for grilling. His coffee is unbelievable, the hot sauces and spice rubs, but there's only one way for you to find out. 817-924-6821. That's Rodak'sCoffeeandGrills.com. I love the fact that we have our sponsors, and they're all over the board for good stuff for you guys, the fans, like Frank and Lana Hawley. Frank Hawley's drag racing school, the Dragster Adventure, of course. That travels around the country. When we get back to that, we'll let you know, so that you can drive a dragster. You don't have to bring anything. You just show up with you. But maybe you want your super comp license or your super gas license. Many a champion race car driver has gone through Frank Hawley's drag racing school. And if that's your plan, you should too. Even if you're a bracket racer and you think you know it all, how many trophies you got? How many checks you signing? Maybe you go to Frank Hawley's and he turns it all around. It's the mental side of the sport. FrankHawley.com. Check them out. And of course, samtech.edu, the School of Automotive Machinists and Technology, talking about the Massengill family down there in Houston area and the next generation of engine builders, machinists, crew chiefs, EFI tuners, all coming through samtech.edu. Not only can they educate you, but they can help place you in a job and a career. Maybe you don't like drag racing at all. Maybe you want to work at Boeing. Guess what? They can help you get started. They got connections throughout the industry. And we got a Factory Stock podcast episode coming real soon. Reached out to Drew Skillman and Mark Powick, Scott Libisher. They've all agreed to redux their first episode of the season. But now, it is time to get into it. Of course, you can follow me at WFO Joe and take advantage of that big discount on nitrofishracing.com, WFO 20 to get it, that discount. But now it is time to connect with a man who has been just so great to us on WFO since the very beginning, since the satellite radio days. Always agrees to come on the show. Now he is back. He's back driving a Don Schumacher Racing dragster, and he joins us now, Mr. Cory McClenathan. Cory, welcome back.
Joe, how are you, buddy?
I am great, but not as great as you, because you get to race at Indy in a Don Schumacher Racing dragster, which says to me, you got a shot to do something. And most importantly, I know this whole redemption tour, the tour was to say, like, thank you to your fans. And now you have a chance to say thank you to the whole sport of drag racing by helping us bring this thing back.
And it's really a big portion of what I decided to do. I mean, it's like when Don called me, I thought, okay, I'm retired, but there's so many positives in this, and I think this is going to be awesome. It'll be history in the making, and look forward to driving Leah's spare car and working with all the guys I used to, and Leah, of course. Leah and I talked on the phone a couple times, and spent some time just going over stuff as far as the canopy stuff goes. So I'm sure I'll be picking all their brains at one time, but just the opportunity from Don Schu is makes me very happy.
Well, what Don Schumacher does for the sport on a regular basis, they get the Evil Empire thing thrown at them a little bit. They've got all these cars, all these teams, all these people. And for the fans, that's good. They need somebody to root for and root against. But when you're an insider in the sport and you think about all the employees and all the sponsors and all the money that comes into the sport because of that operation, it's just so great. You got to race there for many years. You mentioned Leah, a perfect example. And the idea that he's working the phones to make sure that this race goes off right, that makes me feel good about the whole thing.
Definitely. I mean, Don had a lot of conversation with NHRA and a lot of folks, and really wanted to put it out there where we could have 4 Top Fuel cars. And Tony was the first one to able to get their car funded, and so they announced, and then I finally got all my folks in the straight line, and we were able to announce Nordic coming back with me along with RevChem Composites. So it's a big weekend. This first one, being the first one, it'll be a good test for the NHRA and for Indy and all the fans being able to come back under different circumstances. But at the same time, we're going to be there the very next weekend. So I'm really looking forward to get behind the wheel of that canopy car.
Absolutely. All right. So when we spoke with Alan a little bit earlier, Alan Reinhardt, and folks, that's in the archive. If you're podcasters, you can listen. If you're Facebookers or YouTubers, it's right there in the archive. Please check it out and share it. But we speculated about the canopy thing. So let's talk about that. Different, same. Was that like something you wanted on your bucket list? Like, I'd love to drive those things. Give me your thoughts, and you're going to get this opportunity.
Well, when they first came out, I sat in Tony's car and kind of at least got a feel for what it'd be like with the canopy shut. So, but I never did get to drive one. So definitely on my bucket list. Definitely think it's the way of the future as far as way safer, has an onboard fire extinguisher. You have air. It's all the right things in the makings. We've seen it, I've seen Antron crash one before and, come out unscathed completely. And I think that's really a great testament to what they've done at Don Schumacher Racing. So, my hat's off to them. They want to evolve the sport, and I'm right there with them. I like that.
Now, you have you had the opportunity? You sat in it. Tony told us last week that the glass has changed over the years. It's got thinner, and there was a fishbowl kind of angle to it initially. But, even the Greek says he loves it. So is there going to be any kind of curve jumping into the car? How's that going to be?
From what I can understand, your peripheral vision is a little bit different in it. The way you look out the glass towards a tree can definitely be a little bit different. And it mostly is the glare. So you want to make sure everything in the car is blacked out, nothing shiny, because it definitely comes back on your face from what everybody's telling me. So I'm sure I'll have a couple things that I'll have to get used to. And, being enclosed, that doesn't bother me. I'm not, I'm not squirmish about that. But I do think it's safer and kind of put your mind at ease under certain circumstances.
That is great. And we've got some people checking in out there. We got Kathy is out there and Albert from looking forward to Lex. And I know you and Lex, we're going to have you guys on, do a little crosstalk at the end of this interview. We'll bring on Lex and Gerda, and because there are some things in common, which is kind of interesting. Andrew is out there as well. And our listeners, fans of Cory Mac, want to know what you're up to as well. I asked you to send in some photos. Alan mentioned that the first time that he ever saw you in his life was driving a Carmen Ghia funny car. That happens to be one of the photographs that you sent us. Is this the car?
That is the car. It had an Autocraft turbocharged. It was 2600. The car ran 790s all day long. We got to run with the Sitka Funny Car Bunch for a couple races there, but it was definitely a one-off. It's the only funny car I've really ever driven, to be honest, and front motor wise, and it was very different. It was one of a kind back in its day. Something we had a lot of help with different people putting it together, but it was also something my father and I did together, which means a lot.
That's your family car. So was it air cooled? Or are we talking, you guys Beetle guys? Because I noticed you sent me this one as well. Like, what's the backstory to that? I know the air cooled. They want to know this because it's a subculture.
Exactly. And what you saw there was our first 1956 Volvo window, which I have in my garage. I'm restoring it right now. It does not look like that anymore. It's all black. We're getting ready to bring that out pretty soon. That was my first race car right there. So the funny car, we had a dragster after that for a short term, then built the funny car. That was probably, a year in the making, actually, to do the body and cut the top off a Ghia and then actually turn it around and then extend it, by almost 2 feet. So it really was a very awesome car to drive. Like I said, way before its time, and people still love to see it. It's actually in Tennessee. In a museum called Days Gone By Museum. So if you're ever around that area, go in there and check it out. They have everything from old tractors to race cars, always one of a kind, one-off stuff.
Wow, that's great. I like that. I was going to just tell you, wow, you got to get this thing back. You got to restore it. You got to put it. It's restored. It's in a museum already.
Yeah, I wanted that car to go somewhere where it would not come out in competition again with somebody else driving it. That was definitely a must. So when I got the call from them, it was all about, how do you want to do this, and I'll ship it to you.
Wow, one of our banner ad sponsors for those that go to WFOradio.com is CIP1. And that's KI, who works on Matt Hartford's Pro Stock team. And his whole business is air-cooled. That's it. They're like the repo parts, not reproduction parts, or for the Volkswagen guys. And so I got to speak with him a little bit about it. And I know the Volkswagen Beetle people are diehard. Just like I'm a Pontiac guy, so I know what it's like to be not a Chevy person. But this is a different level. It's insanity how they are hardcore. They got their own races, their own cruises, their own subculture, maybe their own language. Tell me about it.
It's exactly that. And it was back in the day when I first started, it was the Bug-ins at Orange County Raceway, which I was very familiar with because my dad took me there since I was a young child. But both those race cars were both air-cooled. The funny car had an Autocraft motor in it, which is still popular today. I mean, they make them a lot bigger nowadays, but they all are still air-cooled. I mean, that's the biggest thing. Probably now the guys that make the real power, I mean, they're making well over 3,000 horsepower. I mean, it's definitely a different way to go. But they're faster. They're turbo. They're in regular cars, and they've taken a whole new light on with big wings like a Pro Stock and the whole deal. So the VW body goes through the air pretty well, so it's pretty slick to begin with. When they're going that fast, it's all about downforce, and we see them. I mean, they're definitely slick, but I'm still a huge VW enthusiast. I work pretty close with the guys at MP, and they're a giant warehouse for distributors, whether it's water cooled or air cooled as well. But no, everything I always race was always air cooled, and it's a way of life. That's why I'm rebuilding this car, is to be able to utilize it and go out and go to cruise nights and take it down to the beach and cruise around, have fun.
That is awesome. Well, that's it. That's the backbone of hot rodding. That is the whole point of the exercise right there. And I'm glad you're doing it. And I think it is a lot of fun. Some people weighing in. Monica says, nice to see you again. What's this? Is there a chance you will continue with more races after Indy? If you go out and win one and have a couple of 40 reaction times back to back, I don't know. Maybe get a big company behind you. But let's talk about who is supporting this run. You mentioned their names, but there's an interesting tie-in to the whole return of NHRA drag racing in general. Like, everybody is using this opportunity to make sure all the ducks in a row. We want to get this right. So lay it out for the audience out there. There's a couple of interesting ties that they'll appreciate.
Yeah, I mean, and it's history, and it's always about relationships. You know that as long as you and I have known each other, and we've talked about doing stuff together. RevChem Composites. Pete Pendleton is actually the president of RevChem Composites. They do and have everything for carbon fiber, fiberglass layups. I mean, we at Race Glass, which is a business I own now, we do off-road bodies for all the Pro Light trucks and everything else that we've raced, and Pro 2, Pro 4, and then the Trophy Light desert truck as well. But, we use all their composite stuff. There's a Pro Light right there. It's still on all four wheels, which is a good thing. So, but at the same time, that relationship had gone way back. Pete used to work for Randy and Sandy Davis at Nordic Boats, so they have a great relationship. Pete moved on to the RevChem Composite Company, and he's been with Mac Tools before. So I mean, he's big in drag racing, but at the same time, they use all their stuff gets put in Nordic boats, and Nordic builds some huge, giant race boats, and all the way down to regular, day by day boats as well for the family. And it's just one of those things that relationships go here, they go there, and it's just one of those deals where they work together so well, and then our relationship had blossomed over the years. So, we're running that Nordic boats on there. We got RevChem on there, and then Don sprinkled some stuff in there with Napa and with Pennzoil, and gosh, who else is on there? I'm just Matco Tools, which I've worked with before. So it's a great get together. Jeg's going to be part of it as well. So there'll be some new folks I get to meet, but like you said, without a giant place to showcase and have everything under house, when you go to DSR to take a tour of that, which I know right now we can't do that, but in the future, think about it, because it's unreal to see not only what is made there, which is pretty much everything nowadays, but the brain trust. Watching all the crew chiefs walk around, they all mingle, they all talk about their race cars together. You got Ron Tobler and Todd Okahara, and with my background there, it's like I fit right in there, feel very comfortable. I'm actually pulling some guys out of the machine shop that have a day-to-day 9-to-5 job there, and they found out we were doing this deal, and they put their hands up like, I want to be on Cory's car. So it makes me feel good about it. So,
and Todd is going to call the shots, like the final shots for your call is going to be Todd Okahara.
Yes, sir. Yeah, Scotty Okahara will be involved, and as a car chief type of deal like before. We got to make sure that Leah's car, the focus is make sure that her car is right and ready, and then on the other side, we'll have some very good guys to work on my car as well. So they're pretty identical cars, so it'll definitely show us a little bit about what it's like, the attitude of the car when I'm driving it, and the attitude of the car when she drives it, and we can hopefully compare some notes there. I mean, I got at least 30, 40 pounds on her. I mean, that's one thing right away that'll be different. But, it doesn't seem to matter. We got so much horsepower nowadays. It's just about how the application is, how you apply it to the ground. So the clutch is, it's a big deal. That's a big part of it. So I'm looking forward to getting back there. And Don's always treated me like family. So I appreciate the opportunity, and I appreciate my sponsors coming back, because at the end of the day, they pay the bills, and they're looking for more people to get involved with them. So, they sell to a lot of people that do work with them, and that's what they're looking at. Same thing with the boat side. Randy wants to sell boats. This is a good way to do it. Demographics are perfect for it.
And boats right now. Everybody wants a boat right now. There's so many things that we used to do, and maybe, I don't know, I'd rather be on a boat with just me and my friends, right? Instead of going out to whatever 3 times a month, maybe I just get a boat and do that. Who knows?
Growing up in Havasu and spent a lot of time there, I definitely had to have the boats and all the water toys. But nowadays, I mean, with that, let's just say with everything that's going on, sometimes being on a boat out in the middle of the water is a very peaceful place to be.
That's right. All right, let's talk about what you've been doing since, and I do want to ask you some competition questions, but let's talk about the driving of the trucks and such. Like you sent me several photos, action shots, just shows me that Cory Mac can drive anything, will drive anything. Let's do a quick whip around. All right, Cory the driver drove this. Is that you?
That's Larry Miner's Pro Mod sand car, and I still drive that, actually.
Is this you?
That's my pro light. Yes, sir.
All right. So you drive everything. That's it. You're a driver. What
And
about that? That's you? That's you right there.
that's me right there as well. Yes, sir.
All right.
Yeah.
So you drive anything.
I'll tell you, the one thing that really got my attention was I'm one of those guys that's up in the stands looking at anything. And Dave Winter and Corey Winter, his son was in pro light division. And I looked at that and thought, you know what? I could do this. Well, 3 years of driving one, just starting to get to where I was kind of in the groove. I'm telling you, that's a kid sport. If you're a good at motocross, you can cross over pretty well. But us straight liners, I've not seen anybody that's been able to cross over into that short course world and really slam it. I mean, I was lucky and got on the podium. Actually, my last race in the truck. So that was the picture you saw. Was finally on the podium and finally actually going, okay, this is it, and I retire. Just like that.
Now, why the throttle control, the sliding around, the dirt, getting past, everything has its own nuances. And if it's
Correct.
your thing from birth, you learn it from a kid, those first 10 years when you can learn how to speak 5 languages if you wanted, it makes perfect sense that if that's what you started out doing, you'll have an advantage. But after a couple of years into it, what's the secret sauce, do you think?
Throttle control and no fear. And I'm a guy who's, common sense type of guy. And once I rolled it a few times, caught it on fire, I'm like, this is no different than being in a dragster. I mean, what's the difference? And they all do the same thing. At least when I'm driving them, they do. So
Right.
but it is a young man's sport. If you can, have enough guts to throw it in there in a turn and keep it going and really good on throttle control, you can actually do very well in this category. So let's be honest. I was at least 30 years older than anybody in the class. But at the same time, a lot of fun. My favorite thing is being in the air. When you're, 30 feet high for 100, 150 feet or so, it is awesome. And I raced in Crandon, went back there on the big track, and that was a dead stop start. So I think that's the only time I might have had an advantage. Actually, was a dead stop start.
You mentioned being in the air, and I don't want to be this way, but the first thing I thought of was Bristol. Like you were in the air there. That was not fun being in the air.
I mean, luckily I was dressed for the occasion. It made some great highlight reels, and the biggest thing was you look at that stuff and you crash it and you walk away and you're ridiculous enough to come back 2 days later and get back in another car. I mean, I've always been that way. It's just in my blood. So I think that's one of the really hardest things that really hit me last year was walking away from drag racing. That was something I didn't realize how emotional it would be until I did it.
Well, but you didn't, because you're back and we're appreciative of it. And I understand why. Like, this is the right, and if they call you back next year, you should come back because you can still do this and the sport needs you. There's not a Top Fuel dragster on every corner and not a qualified person to just jump in. You're one of those people. But with this opportunity now, you've had every team on the sidelines for a second winter break. Everybody is going to be a little bit rusty. Everybody is going to be a little put off by new procedures and things that are going on. I think about this opportunity. I think you got a shot to do something. Who knows? What about you? In terms of, you want to say goodbye to the fans and help the sport and wave and drive a Top Fuel car. But Cory, you could go some rounds. You could win the race. What about that competitive side? What do you have to do to maximize this opportunity? 2 races.
You know what? That's one thing that I'm lucky enough to been around the Top Fuel cars all my life like this. This is one thing that I'm sure I'm just going to fall back into it, and also had that very competitive spirit. I figure if this car can qualify number 1, which we all know it can, then I can go some rounds in it. And, I may not be as sharp as some of the kids are in the starting line, but there's other things to do than just leave the starting line in one of these cars. It's about how to learn it, how to go back and feed back to the crew chief and get it out there. Now, here's a good point. It'll be hot. Yes. It's going to be muggy.
Yes.
That means the track is going to be tricky. So when it comes to Pedal Fest, I still got what it takes. So that might be in my corner. So if I get lucky around here or there, I know I'm going to have to race some teammates, so I better get my stuff together, be on time. But I'm really looking forward to getting out there and competing against some of the younger kids that are out there today.
Very exciting. Yeah, well, continuing the career and the career arc and all these amazing things. Now, I mentioned Kenny Youngblood. He was our happy hour guest last week. And when he sent me the scheme, I didn't know. There were so many schemes that he had sent that were his schemes. And he told me the story of this one. And since I've got it here, why don't you tell me your version of this story? Because that was one of the most and he said it, and I thought it when he told me, duplicated schemes maybe in drag racing history. That scheme ended up on super comp cars, on bracket cars, on cars of all kinds. That paint scheme went around the world.
Yeah, it really did, and we were lucky enough to get hooked up with Kenny Youngblood back in the day. My dad and him really hit it off really well. And he actually started drawing this thing up on napkins and all kinds of stuff like that. He sat down one night and he just couldn't figure out exactly what to do. And all of a sudden it came to him at late one night, and he went out and he drew this car out. And as soon as we saw it, we knew it was exactly what we wanted as far as a family race car. And you're right. It's been on boats. I've seen it on everything. And the folks at DSR said, hey, how about a throwback so we can kind of, pay back exactly what you had back in the day. So I'm excited about that. And we have to say that's thanks to Kenny, because none of this would be looking like this if it wasn't for Kenny Youngblood. So it's nice to pay homage to somebody like that, who's such an artist. And I can't even draw a stick man, so I'd be lost forever.
Yeah, I can't draw a stick man either. It's pretty terrible. So that is exciting. Something else to look forward to going on this weekend. So one deal that everybody is interested in is the way it's going to all go down. And we are wondering, and I am eager to do whatever it takes, right? And I just went, and just so everybody knows, 4th of July this weekend, I went and bought fireworks. Went to the fireworks store and went in there and had the mask, and I had my hand sanitizer and keeping people away from me. It was kind of rough, honestly. I think that they could have done a better job with the situation. I know that the teams and NHRA don't want anybody saying they could have done a better job. And so they're putting a lot into it beforehand to make sure everybody is feeling good about where they're at. And you have been a part of that. Tell us a little bit about this thing that's going down.
Yeah, so we all know one thing. We're all going to have to wear a mask. The drivers will be separated from the fans, 6 foot distance at least. Even with the crew guys, there you go. Exactly. Crew guys.
By the way, everybody's sending in for masks. That's it. It's over.
It's just like that.
Yeah.
We all know we're going to be segregated to our trailers, and we're going to have to be careful. The sponsors will be able to come into the hospitality area. This is all the Don Schumacher rules. And with the NHRA, the biggest thing is, how do we do this safely for everybody and not get booted out after the very first weekend, and make sure that NHRA can continue racing through the rest of the season? Well, one of them is something we've been working on, and I'm actually just kind of fell in my lap. This Sanacor, Tony Shortall lives in Indianapolis. He works with basically silverthornindustries.com. You can go there and see the products they have. But NHRA and Sanacor have joined up. These will be the sachet packets that they hand out at every entrance. When you come in, give a ticket. You'll probably get a couple of these. They're really easy to work with. You can throw them in your pocket. It's not like you're carrying a big bottle around of sanitizer. So this is good for one hand cleaning, not sticky, so it doesn't you don't have that feeling like you wash your hands and you want to go clean them off. So this was a really big hit with them, and NHRA and Tony put together a contract with all his folks, and all I did was bring it to the table for them, and they took it from there, and it was just the perfect thing. Now you can put a bunch of these, wad them up and put them in your driver's suit. You can put them in your pocket, either way. And I think it's a big deal because we have to wear a mask before we get in the race car. The only difference is once we put our helmet on, we have to put our face shield down. That counts as a facial covering, okay? And when you get out the other side, you need to get all your stuff off because they can't get near you anymore to help take stuff off. Get your helmet off and everything, grab your mask out of your pocket, put it on, and then do an interview. And from what I understand, they're going to have long booms coming down to get voice interviews and ask questions from a distance. So that's just part of how we're going to make the sport go forward. So the fans, we're just asking you guys, we get it. I've been wearing a mask everywhere I go because I have a mother that's getting ready to turn 90, or 80. I'm sorry, God, I don't want to put her that far ahead. And I mean, her mother lived to be 102. So I mean, I just want my mom to stay healthy. My daughter's mother has underlying issues, so she has to be careful. So I'm used to wearing the mask and going about my day, doing the grocery shop and doing whatever you have to do. But as we see numbers rise, all of a sudden everybody starts freaking out, and we want the sport to be able to move forward. That's a lot of the reason why I'm still here. But bringing Sanacor in and having Short All out there, pushing it, having NHRA's put together a great package for us on the Sanacor side. We just really appreciate you guys taking the opportunity to let us show the brand, and I think it's a good launching spot for Sanacor, for NHRA, and for Silverthorne Industries as well.
The whole thing, one of the reasons I love this sport and I want to be involved as much as I can is because it's loaded with problem solvers. I joke all the time. These are people who like to create problems to solve as their hobby on the weekend. Like, what can we do to complicate our lives and then fix it? And when you showed me those packets, I just thought, like, this is a perfect answer, because carrying around a pump bottle of sanitizer doesn't work. Everybody has stolen. Think of all the people that go in and steal all the ketchup packets from the fast food restaurants. Now they can just do this. They can keep a couple of sanitizer packets in their pocket or something. It's going to be a lot easier. I love that. Cory, any final thoughts? Well, I want to bring on Lex and Nhra, because it's kind of interesting. You guys have got a connection. I did not know that. But while we got, your fans out there, you're getting ready to make a big return to NHRA drag racing, redemption tour, if you will. I don't know if that's the right word. It's just, bring back drag racing in the right way tour with Cory Mack. You won the Big Go a couple times, knocked on the door of championships a couple of times. Going to have a great opportunity. Maybe not the most optimal way to connect with fans, but we're thrilled that we have anything. Any final thoughts?
Well, that's my thing. Let's go out there, use common sense, be safe, and we'll be able to continue racing through the season. And, we're signed up for the 2 races, but you never know what might come down the pipeline to make that continue on. So I'm looking forward to these 2 races, seeing the fans, and driving that canopy car for Don Schumacher and all the great sponsors. But at the same time, getting back in a race car each and every weekend is a big deal. So now we got 2 weekends in a row to do it. So everybody just kind of hold on for the ride. It's going to be a little bit different, the new norm, I call it. But at the same time, we're going racing again. That's something to be excited about.
That is so true. And I am thrilled that you are going to be able to do it. And on a Fox, by the way, on Fox Broadcast Network. So there's going to be someone that has never seen drag racing watching you on Sunday, a week from Sunday. It's going to be great. All right, let's bring in Lex and Nhra. Lex and Nhra Joon, who became citizens of the great United States of America here on 4th of July weekend. Lex and Nhra, you guys are citizens of the good old US of A and have an interesting tie to Cory Mack. What is it? Tell us about it.
Well, our starter car, where we start our Top Fuel car with, used to be Cory McClenathan's when he ran the Fran Top Fuel dragster for the Carrier Brothers.
Wow, but that's amazing that something like that. No offense, Cory, but like those parts,
it is still out there.
Service.
But we thought of something else too. Yeah. I remember McClenathan ran for David Baca.
Correct.
And our cockpit is actually a 1999, and I think that car was made for you.
I believe so. You're right there. That's
Lex is racing your art car.
That's wild, and I'm sure the cockpit in that car is a little short, and I know you're tall, Lex, so it's probably a little bit cramped, but at the same time, it's a proven car, and we're glad to have you out there racing with us. We're looking forward to it. I saw your name on the list, and I'm really looking forward to having you guys out there. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Really appreciate it, and I think it's really cool to have you back in the game. When we were watching drag racing back then, you were always part of this. So to be able to be in the same venue, in the same race with you, I think that's really cool. I don't say I mind to run against the younger kids, but to be part of a race where you are in, and I hope to see you a lot more racing, I think that's really cool. That's for me a little bit different. To run against the guys, the heroes, that's what it is, right? That's why we are here, basically. And to keep continue about building this. But racing a car that's made for you, I can tell you, my knees are against the steering wheel. But I always love this car because it's got a really short foot box, which will give you a lot of traction. So I deal with it. I don't mind. But every time I jump in the car, I see that raceback computer and it says Joe Gibbs.
That's right.
And to be honest, there's something else going on here, which not a lot of people know yet. We bought a trailer, and it's an older trailer. It's got a lot of history. That's one of the reasons we love this. And we were going through some stuff in the lounge, and we wanted to move some things around. And I had to take one of the seats out, pulled the seat out, and you know what happened? I found a hero car, and I put it on Facebook. I don't know if you've seen it.
I
from
saw
you and a McDonald's car. And I think you really, this is so cool because you still keep being a part of what we do, no matter what we do. So to have you back, and I got the hero card. If you don't have it anymore, it's yours because then I want you to have it. It's in great condition because probably you fell behind the seat and nobody found it.
that's awesome.
So it's been sitting there for a long time. Knowing that
connections,
So all those things together. I love the history of our sport. Again, that's one of the reasons we are here because that's for us. That's what it's about. All the legends out there, and so
it's yours.
Yeah, it's yours. So
it's amazing how much we have in common. But one thing I have to tell you guys, I love the never quit attitude. I mean, that to me is something your insignia, and I see it all the time, and I love that. And I was able to see that when you lifted up the seat, there was a bunch of Cory Mac stuff underneath there. So yeah, we have a lot more in common than you think sometimes.
So wait,
exactly. I thought it was really cool to meet you back in Texas, and I thought that was awesome.
So you upgraded from the Jeff Gordon trailer, though. The former Jeff Gordon trailer is now
gone.
Yeah.
And now you have a former Joe Gibbs Racing Cory Mac trailer. Is that what we got?
We have a former Larry Minor Motorsports trailer when Shirley Muldowney ran the Autopops dragster.
Yeah.
Wow.
If you see the bathroom, it's got special lighting in there.
Around the mirror.
It's like when you're in a Hollywood setting. Yeah. And I bet you that's made for Shirley. And I don't know if Cory knows about this, and you know what? We got it all back in shape again. It's all working again. It's so cool.
It is 30 years old.
Yeah, and you know what? It's a blast, and it fits us perfectly. It's still part of the history of the sport, and we were so happy to bring it back into racing again. And to be honest, Chip Lofton from Strutmasters helped us out great on this. We could not do without this guy, and we will talk a little bit more about it. But to be able to bring, and it's the tractor and the trailer. It's been a combination for 30 years, and it's still together. And we got it back out on the road again. So
it's amazing.
Yeah, what more do you want?
If you go from the trailer into the lounge, you open the door. There's a window in the door, and it still says Larry Minor Motorsports.
Wow.
And I remember that trailer. So that would be.
It is baby blue.
In 1994, I raced out of that trailer.
See?
Yeah. So
that is amazing.
So I remember that trailer very well, and it always had all the shiny stuff everywhere, and
and it still has.
Yeah. So when we get back to the shop later, I'm gonna ask the trailer to tell the stories.
Yeah, tell the stories.
I'm so afraid of that.
Cory, all of a sudden you're breaking up, Cory. We're gonna let Cory Mac run. Just on that note, so then we can guess what the stories were.
We'll see you next week.
There it is.
Thank you, Joe, so much for everything.
Absolute. Cory, thank you so much. We'll see you. Good luck out there. Go get it done. Anything's possible. I appreciate you coming on the show. Thank you so much.
You got it.
There goes Cory. Cory McClenathan won the Big Go a couple of times, and Lex and Nhra going to stay with us. Guys, first of all, thank you so much. Your love for this sport is obvious. Just all the different stories. Of course, tractor trailers and stuff, they're on a different life cycle than human beings or a regular car. And the fact that you're able to keep track of them, though, that's what's cool. But what we want to know is, have you been able to use this time for good for your team? Because Lex, you were last year, there were times you were thrashing all night, couple of nights up in a row, just trying to keep things together. Now you would imagine you've had some time to sort things as best as you can. At least you've had the time.
Yes, and there are two really important things in racing, basically in life, but in racing especially. It's time and money. And I believe time is even more important, because if you got the money, you can buy stuff. Time is not for sale. So to have this time to get it all done and all sorted, it came like a blessing. And we got so much done, and people don't believe this maybe, but the last race we run was back in Charlotte in C-Max last season, and then we had a big boomer where the gear in the distribution failed, so that messed up the whole deal. And then I said, okay, this is done. I cannot do this anymore. It costs so much parts, so much money. A team like VF cannot go through this. And the other thing is not be able, we qualified the car, but not to be able to run it on race day. That was even more devastating. So I knew one thing: this needs to change. And that's what we did. From that moment on, we kept working on it every day, even in the weekends, even on Sundays. We did not skip a day, and that's going to pay out, because again, the time we could spend through the whole program. I'm really excited to go back to the track again, and I know what this car can run. I know we got all the parts. We basically got the same parts than Cory Mac is going to run. So sure, we don't going to push it that hard, because at the end of the day there always will be the next race. But to be able to put a program like that together, that's a dream come true.
Well, that's tremendous. And I love the fact your grit and determination. Cory Mac said it. Everybody has noticed it. The grit and determination, the never quit, the branding, the slogan, the fact that you guys are just fighting and clawing just to get to the racetrack. And then you qualify and you won around. But let's use this opportunity with our listeners out there checking in. And a lot of people are saying what's up to you guys. Like Frank is out there saying what's up. And you mentioned Shirley. Certainly got a lot of love for Shirley out there. Oh, I missed this one for Cory Mac talking about the Nitro Outlaw Association. Sorry, Marvin, I missed that one. But everybody, look, James out there loves Lex and Nhra. There's a Monday morning racer. What's up, James? But let's go through some of these photos you sent me, because we have a great and unique opportunity now to see, this is your life, Lex Joon. So I'm going to flash some of these photos on the screen that you sent, and you kind of take me through. I'm going to start out with some of the more, I'm going to build up to Top Fuel first. Like, for instance, is this how you got started? What appears to be a super gas car. Tell me about it.
Well, that's basically my first drag race car. I bought this car from a farmer in the Netherlands. He had it sitting somewhere in the grass, rotting away. It had a straight 6-cylinder in it. And that's basically where my drag racing career started. So I kept building on this car and changed basically everything, built my own chassis, built the rear axle, transmission, engine, everything. So I keep plugging away at it. And I never run index classes because that's something, I always want to go as fast as possible. So index racing for me is not there. I always want to push it to the limit. So I always was racing in classes where I could go heads up and go for it. So, but that was in Centerpot, that's in England, and that was basically the beginning of where we are right now.
That's where it all got started. All right, gold appears to come first. Is this you?
Yeah, that's Alcohol Funny car, and we love this scheme. We bought this car, this body. It's a Camaro. And basically had a Quaker State livery on it, and it was green. And what do? The car basically was beautiful. So and this is in early 2000, 2001, 2002, something like 2. So wrapping was not really large available then, and I had a guy in my auto repair shop who was in wrapping, and I asked him, can we wrap the green and put gold on it, because black and gold will work. He said sure. So he did that, and I think that worked out great. It's it's still something I really love, and maybe one day we will run it on the dragster as well. But yeah, and then we had sponsorship for a deal from Splitfire, which was a spark plug back then, which was pretty. In the Netherlands there was a guy that was selling the spark plug, so we had a deal with them, and yeah, we were a Splitfire alcohol funny car.
Wow, there you go. You mentioned Santa Pod. There's Gerda out there looking good, and we have friends over there. We love the idea of connecting the drag racing world with WFO and the web, of course. And so we know that there's a big fan base out there. And is this the same? No, this is a different car. This is a Dodge body. So is this a very tall wing back there? So what do we got going on here, Lex?
What do you think? This this is not an alcohol funny car. No, this is a fuel funny car, Joe, and this is in 2003.
Yeah.
I was really, I never had an idea to run nitro because I thought it was just out of my league. I really admired the people that were running nitro. Hats off, but I never really could picture me in a car like that. Although I'm a funny car guy, I love funny cars. The reason I run a dragster now is not because I love dragsters, but there's another reason for that. But this was a fuel funny car we acquired back in 03, and we started running it with NPM, our sponsor back then. It was an oil company. The story about that is that the owners from NPM, Michael and Peter, it's Michael Peter Motor Oil, NPM. They always had a sweet spot for John Force, and well, John Force was running Castrol on his funny car, so they would love to see a fuel funny car with their name on. But that's basically how that came together. And well, I made only 3 passes with that car. The picture there was, I think, the first run I ever made to get my license in it. And then something went wrong, let's call it that, and the thing got on fire and it burned down to the ground. And I almost lost my life in that one. That's the reason I'm not running funny cars anymore, besides the fact that it's more expensive because bodies are really expensive. Especially back in Europe, if you have to ship a body from the US to Europe, it's a lot of money. So and that got us into top fuel racing because there were real championships, FIA championships. This was in 04, the year after the funny car. The first year you can see the NPM live lead there, and this was a car we basically rented from Knut Soderquist. So this was my first year in Top Fuel in 04. We learned a lot there, how to do it and how not to do it. So then we decided, okay, if we want to do this really good, then we're gonna buy our own equipment. So with NPM,
there it is.
We bought it, and this was the car we still running. And this is in Hockenheim in Germany. This is the night show. That was always really cool to do. It was like, but you can see the stadium where people are sitting around there.
Yeah,
and have a great time. And yeah, I was fortunate. I was the first one. I don't know if I'm the only one, but I was the first one to run a 4-second run on the quarter mile at the night show. I always wanted to give the people a good time, and it was a lot of fun. But
so
yeah.
let's pause there because you mentioned Hockenheim. I think some of our fans also pay attention to Formula One, which I do, and I'm fascinated by it. And of course, there's a lot of money in Formula One, and you mentioned the stadium and Hockenheim Ring. If we watch a Formula One race, you can see where the drag strip is. What's that thing in the middle right there? There's a wing, there's tires. Like, it looks like they're spending money just to make cool stuff for the starting line and lights. And one thing I also noticed is they got a packed house.
The night show was always packed. It was so much, the whole environment, attention, see, and the fans, it was so cool. And it was really a show. It was a night show. And part of the night show was they always asked a couple of dragsters if they want to do a show run. And we were always a part of that because the promoter knew that we always put a show on, especially because NPM, our sponsor, always had 400 or 500 guests in the grandstand. So we always could see where they were. So we were always game. Although it was in the middle of an FIA championship round, most of the time, and a lot of teams didn't want to do it because it might mess up the car or it might mess up whatever. We always did it because for us it was the highlight of the season. To be honest, Hockenheim was always so much fun. Fans are awesome. To be honest, I got a lot of tracks in Europe I really like, but Hockenheim, the night show, it was it's something you never forget. And you know what? If you tell me I have to fly you in over there just to do the night show, I will do it. It's one of those things.
Wow. That is now this you mentioned the FIA Top Fuel World Championship, the culminating there. Explain to our listeners out there how it's different in that you don't have quite as many cars, but the people you have there are trying really hard to win and to become a champion in anything. FIA, you're like the European Top Fuel Champion. Nhra and Lex, you guys are decked out at your awards banquet.
Well, this is in Monaco. That's why we look like we are movie stars. And yeah, we had to fly to Monaco, and it's part of you're there, and it's really like it's like a ball. It's like you are a celebrity. It's all there, and Formula One, everybody's there. Schumacher was there.
Bernie Ecclestone.
Everybody was there.
Fernando Alonso was the FIA Formula One champion that year.
Yeah, so
he was on the same stage with him.
And then they show the footage of what you're doing, and then you see people say, "Oh wow!" And so that's really rewarding. It was really cool. Never forget that one.
All right, time out. Let me just savor on that for a minute, because our NHRA Awards banquet, the Mellow Yellow Awards banquet, is first class. It's beautiful. They do such a great job. In fact, I'm not going to say this aloud and publicly, but if they did a less cool job, it would still be amazing. They go over the top, the NHRA does, to give all of their racers that feel. But the idea that you're at a Formula One gala and Schumacher and Alonso, basically the Formula One World Championship, and you're an FIA champion, and Bernie and all those people are there. That's star power. That's pretty amazing. What kind of reactions did you get from those Formula One guys when they see a little Nightwing when they showed what you did? That had to be pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and the thing is that they tell us, oh wow, I would never have the guts to step in a car and do this. That's pretty interesting. And they was from yeah, and they mean what they say, and I can understand it, because we know we are used to do this, and still to be honest, if I'm in line and other cars running in front of me and I see them leave the starting line, I think, wow, this is what I'm going to do. It's still intimidating to me. But so to be in an I love NHRA, I love the banquet, don't get me wrong, but to be able to be part of an FIA gala and then represent drag racing, that was really cool, and especially with such a nice lady on the side for me, she looked like a princess.
Yeah, so, we still are kind of confused about how that all happened, but that's a different story.
So not me.
I am kidding. All right, so let's talk about when your career really started to take off. What's going on here?
That's taking off, right? That's what you do. Well, that's you wonder sometimes where the never quit attitude's coming from. It's not that's something that just happened here. This is in 2005. By the way, the other car in the background, that's Max Smith, we all know. So this was qualifying. This was the main event. This was 2005, the first race. We start running with our new car. Bought from David Barker, get it all over, get it all done. Let's get this going. I make the first qualifier. The car comes up pretty high in the air. Back then, we didn't run any wheelie bars. So I came back and I told my crew chief, I said, this is not really going well. We need to do something about it. And he told me, hey, Lex, don't worry about it. I got this. Next run will be okay.
It'll be fine.
You'll be fine.
And this is the next run?
And this is the next run.
This is not fine.
It even got higher.
Yeah, and you see the butterflies are closed. I went over it right away. But the thing is this: you're leaving the starting line. The sun was in my face, and you hit it. And people always wonder what happens. Well, you leave you're leaving the starting line, but the first second you don't really see a lot, because it's all the G's you need to take care of. It's more like feel like what's going on. Then your fishing cut back. But what happens is you're leaving the starting line. It's pretty bright in front of you. The next moment, it's dark. Like, what's going on here? And then you realize you're looking at your race car standing right up. And the first thing I thought, after just clicking it off right away, but it kept going, is this looks like the Eiffel Tower. This is not right. Second run in this car. And I think, oh shit. So what do? You know, you've seen a lot of deals going that way. You've seen Big Daddy. You've seen a lot of blowovers. You see, and so a lot of things go through your mind. What do you do? So I decided not to do anything. Just get from the throttle and just let it play out. Because the other thing you can do is jerk the brake, but I don't think that's going to work out because it will be bad. So I let it go, and the car went up, and I was ready to flip over, and it just stopped like this, boom. And I thought, okay, the rear wing is hitting the track. And then it came back, and it came back, and I saw I was dead straight. So one of the things I always do is when I stage the car, get it dead straight in the center of the track. So you don't have to do a lot of steering. And in this scenario, it worked out really good because the car was in a straight line. And it came back, and I think, okay, we are still good here. And now the next thing is, let's see what happens when that car hits the ground again. So I was looking at my front wheels, holding the steering wheel, and it smashed on the ground, and my feet hit the tarmac because the whole chassis bent down. And then I saw my front, the A-arms broke. They came up, but the wheels were still on the ground, and they were still rolling. So I just turned my steering wheel, and I could see the wheels do this. I said, okay, we still got a connection. So shut the fuel lever off, pulled the chutes, and I let it go. I didn't do anything because it was fine. It was perfect in the middle. I didn't want to disturb anything. And I hit a number, and then I think, okay, so I start braking, but I didn't want to leave the car in the middle of the track because then they had to wait. I always hate it when people need to wait for me. That's why I always just pull one chute, that's the way I am.
Was that eliminations? Who got the win light?
So it was qualifying.
This was qualifying. So I took it all the way down the track, and I think, you know what? Let's see if I can get it off the track. So I steered to the left. I had to go to the left, and the car went to the left, and it went off the track. It stopped, and then the A-arms just broke off, and the wheels fall on top of the body.
And there you have it. Well, there
you have it. But the bottom line is, and I don't want to spend all your time on this. We came back to the pits after an hour, and we had no parts. We tried to find a set of A-arms, could not find it. There was some kind of dragster on display. We asked if you could use the A-arms. That was okay. Didn't fit. We made them fit. John Webster helped us, who is a chassis builder in England, but also was racing a Top Fuel car. He helped us out to make the parts to make it fit. Next morning, second day qualifying, we came out, and people were looking at me. What are you doing here? You damaged your car. That's not possible. I made a burnout. Things look pretty okay. I think, this is working. Put it in reverse, got the car back, and I saw the wheels do this. I think, that's not the way it should be. Okay, got it back in. I put it in forward, put it back forward again, and the wheels came up again. I think, you know what, we can try this. So hit the pedal, run it down the track, qualified the car.
Send it.
You know what? We won the first round. We won the second round. It's an 8-car field. We were in the final.
Against John Webster,
the guy that helped us out. Wow. So I told him, so what do you want to do? He said, shall I give you the win because you helped me? He said, no, we're going to race. And for sure, I knew that's what he would do. And you know what? We won the race. We won the event. Now, that's about never quit.
Wow, that is and that's a drag racer story right there, folks. Appreciate it, Lex and
I got some more for you, but we'll do that another time.
Exactly, I know that you do, and those are the stories though that everybody loves, the fight to get to the line, that kind of deal. And
we don't quit until it's really if the deal is done and we are not allowed to go back in there, then it's okay. But until then, go for it.
All right, so let's talk about what's going on next weekend and the following weekend. The time, I know Chip from Strutmasters, you mentioned, he has been very helpful. He helps a lot of people in the sport. He saw that you guys were that fight and determination story. So let's focus on that. Like, what do you got? What do you think? What have you learned? What and as far as like tuning, I know people have helped you over the time. Tell me the nature of the crew, the team, and what you guys are prepared to do as you start your season for the most part next weekend.
Well, there's a lot going on here, and Chip is really instrumental in this. Without Chip, we would not be where we are right now. and he's helping the teams that need help. And a lot of people don't know this, but this is really true. You know, I see some stories out there that they doubt what he's doing. He's real. He's for us a lifesaver. So let's get that out of the way. One of the things he did is when we were running Indy last year and we were struggling to get it together because we had all kind of issues. He gave us Lance Larson. Sounds funny.
Wow.
And sometimes he said, "Yeah, that was my present," which Lance, we're gonna put a bow tie on top of us. But so since then, we kept working with him, and he's still part of our team. And he's working his off to get it all done. And that's another thing. Without him, we would not be where we are right now. So
right there,
really blessed.
Lance Larson is still involved. Every team that he has molded has gone, and even if he steps away, but the team, it's like, fly, little bird. He gets it to the point where they can fly and then goes on to his next project. We've seen that a couple of times.
Yes. And having him on board, that's what it will do to make the next step. And this guy deserves a lot more credit than he ever got. And one of our deals is that once we get going and we proving we will do this, if we can do this, one of the things I would love to do is get him into the Hall of Fame, because that's something he really deserves. Because what you just said is absolutely true. He helped so many teams, but he really never ever got a credit for that, I believe. But that's something we gonna achieve. But right now we got him on board. We got a lot of new crew guys. We got some old guys. We got a mix of everything. And so it's going to be really interesting. We got some guys out there that never seen a Top Fuel Dragster leaving the starting line. So that's going to be really interesting. But the bottom line is our program is better than ever. A lot of people helped us out in the sport. I'm not going to mention names because I know they don't want me to do that. But I can tell you, drag racing is really cool. Yeah, I sent you this one because you know what kind of sticker is on there, right? The decal.
Yeah, look at that, the WFO sticker. I just noticed that one.
Oh, you didn't notice that one before?
I almost omitted this picture. How terrible would that have been had I omitted the only photograph? And that is an interesting story, because people maybe don't know that we've been hanging out for a long time. When you guys came just to hang out at the Nationals, we went and
10 years.
10 years. That was the beginning of WFO when we went up there, and Gerda reached out and we had a good time, and we went out to dinner, and look, here we are years later. You guys are citizens.
And we haven't changed a bit.
Not at all. Look at that, everybody. See, we've been hanging with Lex and Gerda since before.
This was 2010 in Pomona, so we were still in Europe, and then we wanted to race here in the US, and we did everything we needed to do to get it done. And Joe, we met you and the gang, and we know what you wanted to do, and said, hey, let's get this going, and that was really cool. That's why we sent you this picture, because
that is
go a long way back.
I'm glad you did. I'm glad. Yeah. So that was the one. It's like, that looks like an American track. Nobody.
We always appreciate the support you gave us on the radio show. Now with the broadcast, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, you live in the same dream as we do, you know, and that's what we recognize, and we love it. You are really you became a part of this sport, which we think is really cool. See you on NHRA, behind the mic,
through the pits.
I think, but that I might be biased. I think you do a perfect job. Same like Ellen is doing and all the others, but you are born for this. You are made for this. It's you're part of NHRA. This is really cool.
He's right, folks. Listen to Lex.
Absolutely.
I'm always right. And if I'm not right, she will tell me I'm right.
All right. So listen, Lex, you've been the star of this interview, but let's focus on Gerda, as I know everyone's time is short. But Gerda Joon stories, okay? Gerda, we've already seen, you are, the soul or the energy or I don't know, but how to say it. But last year, if it was last year, and I want you to correct me if I'm wrong, you got to do something that you hadn't done before. And I think I remember when you were actually lighting the car for the first time. You were on the starter switch. And those days, it was pretty amazing, because you came over to me and you were like, this is what's about to happen. And I'm like, and You did it. But what was that experience like after having been in and around and helping and working and all of this? And next thing you know, you're holding the starter on 10,000 horsepower.
Well, the thing is, I always say I do everything on the car except I don't sit in it. I don't race it. I don't want to race it. I don't have the desire to sit in it. I will do anything that is necessary. And when they fired up that race car in the pits to warm it up for qualifying, I would always be out because I have a lot of respect for that race car. And somehow I always think it can go kaboom. So me firing up a race car in the pits, I thought that would never, ever, ever happen. But with the help of Lance Larson, he and Lex decided that because I'm always there as a team member, and you need a person that you can trust to do what they're doing, know what they're doing. So they thought it was a good idea that I was going to do it. And I told them, no.
I told Lance, tell her I'm not going to do it because she's going to laugh like no tomorrow. And he started laughing at me. He said, we will get this done if we do it together. I said, well, might be. And yeah.
So we did gasoline first, then we did methanol. And with a certain point, okay, now it's got to run on nitro. And I hold the gas bottle to pour the gas in the injector. And my hand literally was shaking like this. I was so nervous. I was always up on the track before he made his burnout. So we're at the starting line now, and I'm with the race car. I have no idea what's going on the starting line. And NHRA officials come over to me. Are you guys ready? I'm like, of course we're ready. We're here, right? Why should we not be ready? No, when we're ready to go, are you ready to light up? Oh, yeah, we're ready. Then we were in St. Louis last year, and Luigi Novelli in front of us had a really big boomer. So Lance Larson walks over to me, and he's like, well, this is going to be a while. They got to clean the track, so wait a little bit with gasoline pouring in, yada, yada, yada. Okay, I'll wait. Then NHRA official comes over. Okay, light her up. And I'm like, what do you mean light her up? He just told me you got to wait a little. I am a nervous wreck. But somehow, with the help of Lance Larson, and I know I got one of the best drivers in the race car that can save me if we have to, I did it. So they may have thought it was a good idea to make me an assistant crew chief this offseason.
I love it. I think it's great. And I think that's what everybody wants. People love the idea of having more than just the driver storyline. Kathy out there says she loves you guys. You're a cute couple. Lex and Nhra, thank you so much. Any final thoughts before we let you go and get you ready to bring NHRA back in just a couple of weeks? I know it is 4th of July weekend. You guys are American citizens now. Enjoy it. This is like your 3rd 4th of July, I think. You tell me, but give me a final thought or two.
Well, we're gonna have our best of Texas barbecue sauce to put some burgers and some ribs on the grill this weekend.
There you go.
We definitely want those. We wish everybody a happy Independence Day, 4th of July, and I cannot wait to go back to the racetrack. We will have some surprises on the race car because basically everything except the driver changed on that race car, even though you won't see it on the outside, but a lot has changed.
Can't wait. Lex, thank you. Nhra, thank you. Really appreciate you guys both.
Can I say one more thing?
Yes.
Because everything we're going through right now, we really need to have a positive spirit. So we changed some things on the car. You will see some things that you really will like. One of the things we did, we have safe 22 veterans on the car at the team to help the veterans in our country and over the world, basically. But there are more veterans there. So really, let's get this together and let's get this done. Let's stay positive and let's get going. We really look forward to get back on the track and have the positive vibe out there.
Absolutely. That positive energy is what's going to bring us home. And I appreciate you guys leading the way. Lex and Nhra, thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
All right. There they go. Lex and Nhra June. What's better than that, everybody? What is better than that? Those two. To be able to go back and look at their lives and career and how they got here, starting off with a little Camaro and ending up in Top Fuel. So great. And I want to see them do well and go rounds. Drag racing needs people like Lex and Nhra Joon. Just simply awesome. All right, everybody, 4th of July weekend. Tomorrow, we're going to have a happy hour. Jason Logan, Courtney Enders, and maybe some surprise guests from surprise locations. Who knows? We don't even know. I don't even know. In the meantime, you can go into the archive. You can check out that cool Kenny Youngblood show that we did, Happy Hour, last week, where we learned about all kinds of cool artwork, and he took us right through everything that he has been doing his entire career. That was a lot of fun. Had a great time. Also, our WFO radio sponsors, the people who made it all possible, the ones who have been sticking with us, and it has been really appreciated over the years. Lex and Nhra have been around a long time. Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School has been around a long time. FrankHawley.com, check them out. Also, samtech.edu, the School of Automotive Machinists and Technology. Start your education at full speed, Samtech. Check out the Factory Stock podcast they put on as well. Total Seal Piston Rings got a new episode of Hidden Horsepower out there for you to download. Ron Shaver Specialties Racing Engines. World of Outlaws engines. But really, it's all about the piston rings. Are you an engine builder? Call them up, hit them up, Total Seal. Tell them you heard about it on WFO Radio, TotalSeal.com. I just sent out a lot of self-addressed stamped envelopes. I said it before. That's it. This is the last mask on Earth. The masks are gone. So it's got to be stickers only now. P.O. Box 848-353, Pembroke Pines, Florida, 33084. Send it. Just send it. And Marvin Rodak, my buddy. RodaxCoffeeandGrills.com. Hot sauce and spice rub. Everything good. That's Rodax. Really appreciate that. And don't forget NitroFishRacing.com. 20% off. Like on all t-shirts. You might hate the WFO t-shirt. You might hate WFO. But 20% off you like. I know you like that. WFO 20 at NitroFishRacing.com. YouTube, subscribe, click the bell, subscribe, click the bell. All our shows on YouTube. That's a great place to share them. The podcast. The Ignition Show is podcast only. And you can hear all of these things that we're doing, minus the photographs. Sorry, podcast people. It's kind of tough to do the photos. He showed us a picture of a dragster with a WFO sticker on it. And me, at WFO Joe. You can follow along. Really appreciate all you folks out there. And we're going to see you tomorrow, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, for a little happy hour. Jason Logan and Courtney Enders. See you next time, everybody. WFO.